Hey guys, this is the Fat Panda with another power ranking video for the WPF B-League. This is week 4. The rankings are going to get shook up a little bit around the middle because we have a pair of new coaches that I can finally evaluate after a week of battling. So they're going to rise or lower to where I think they'll probably end up after viewing how they battled through a week. So one rose, one fell. Might surprise you based on what records they have, but it's where I think they'll end up. We'll get to them eventually as we ride down these rankings. But first, as always, every single week in the number 1 spot, we're going to go over the Cherrygrove Charizards. 4 weeks down, 4 easy looking victories, and it's safe to say that he is steamrolling opponents. This week was no exception as he went up against AK's team, and AK so far every week it seems has brought some sort of all or nothing setup sweeper, Minior or Slurpuff, and just let off with it and hope for the best. This week was no different. Cherrygrove faced a turn 1 shell smashing Minior, but fully defensive Miltank managed to get up rocks, managed to bring it down to its broken shell with Ice Punch, and Scissor cleaned it up there, so it was pretty easily stopped this time around. After that, AK didn't really have any answer for an opposing Toxapex, and after getting whittled down a little bit, Scissor managed to clean up the rest of the team easy peasy. So another dominating victory, and Cherrygrove easily takes the number 1 spot. He did make a trade trying to improve an already fearsome team, dropping Steelix for Piloswine. I think this is probably a pretty good trade there. I think Piloswine is going to usually be much stronger than Steelix overall. Steelix might have, I believe, a higher physical bulk, but having the Eviolite, having Priority Ice Shard, still got rocks. With Thick Fat, they have the same amount of weaknesses. Piloswine overall is going to have a larger impact and is a pretty good pickup. Surprised Piloswine was even a free agent. So that's a pretty good pickup, diamond in the rough, if you will, out there in Tier 5. In our number 2 spot, rising in the ranks every single week, we have the Wyong Washing Machines. Another one of our 4-0 teams. Every week has been fantastic. He went up against the fearsome reign of the Philadelphia Pangoros this week, but with some fantastic early play, he managed to bring Swampert down to almost no health with Rotom's Hydro Pump. He managed to neutralize the Electric Seed Unburden boost of Hawlucha with a lucky Skarmory Whirlwind, and losing all that kind of offensive momentum, Philadelphia didn't have a heck of a lot left in the tank, and Wyong and his Venusaur were able to bleed the rest of his team down and come out on top. Number 3, we have the Sacramento Kingler. Sacramento didn't play this week, unfortunately. They had to reschedule. Still a very good team, and I love what I've seen, so I'm keeping them right here. Number 3 seems like a fantastic rating. Number 4, following after Sacramento, it feels like every single week, are the Miami Dinos. Miami had a pretty good prep this week, except one crucial mistake. He had a return Diggersby against a Ditto. When you have return, when you have a Ditto on the other side, always use frustration over return. A little bit of a misprep almost cost him a serious amount in the match, as Ditto was able to copy that Diggersby at one point, and return swept straight through a Celesteela. So that actually just gives you the power of Diggersby, and if it had been frustration, wouldn't have stood a chance there. But a little bit of a misprep caused some panic, but even with that Diggersby rampaging through as a Ditto, it managed to clean up a little bit of the team, and Deancey kind of swept from there, showing off what it can do as well. Number 5, we have the Michigan Diamond Storm off to a 3-1 start. A very, very good turn 1 and turn 2 with his team as he led off with the Nidoking against the Suicune, but he predicted that the Suicune would try to set up a little bit, as Nidoking usually doesn't stay in there. Hit it with a Thunderbolt, managed to absolutely destroy that Suicune, brought it down to like 3% or something, and untouched, Suicune had to leave and set up a leave for what? Latios, I think, came out. Nidoking took that opportunity to set up a sub, and then managed to do a huge chunk to Latios Mega with Shadow Ball. That's two huge threats essentially neutralized because they were brought down to almost no health. And with that, Nidoking did a fantastic job. And then to clean up, he brought a fantastic Trick Room Jellicent set. Trick Room, Water Spout, Shadow Ball, Life Orb with Water Spout is weird, but it worked and it got several kills. So loved watching it. Jellicent doesn't get enough love, so I am glad to see it do quite a bit of work. At number 6, we have the Gotham Darkrai. Gotham dealt his first loss against one of the new coaches of the Happy Valley Hariyamas. He didn't really have an answer, unfortunately, to SD Garchomp. Thought Zapdos was the answer. Thought Tangrowth was the answer. Both got two-shot. He got baited with his Zapdos into a Continental Crush, and after losing it, he just didn't have enough physical defense to do with the fearsome sweepers that the Happy Valley Hariyamas are bringing. So a little bit of unfortunate play, and prep got him a loss this time, but his team is very good. His play is almost always on point, so I expect him to do quite well as we go on. At number 7, we have the Motherland Mawile with a victory this week. He overcame an unfortunate break of Sleep Claws by his opponents, but they couldn't really get anything off of that. And some fantastic switching and tech, and he brought a very bulky team this week. So if it had been his usual super offensive team, would have probably had some trouble. But with some fat Arcanine play, it was just enough to actually kind of switch it up on his opponent and be the tanky player once, which is something you wouldn't expect out of his draft. So it was a really fun prep to watch. Really interesting to see what else he can bring to kind of switch it up on his opponents who are always expecting hyper offense. At number 8, we have the Philadelphia Pangoros, who's had a little bit of a rough time here. He early in the match let a Swampert take a little extra damage by its own substitute, by a Hydro Bump. He got somewhat unlucky by getting his Hawlucha whirlwinded out by a Skarmory, and after that Electric Seed had kind of been popped, it was not going to do too much either. So he just didn't quite have enough left in the tank after those couple things got taken away from him, and he wasn't able to snatch one away from the washing machines this time around. It is still a terrifying team. I mean, he doesn't need Rain at all. He has Tapu Lucha, or he doesn't need Tapu Lucha. He has Rain. It's going to overpower plenty of opponents. A little bit of bad luck this time around. What can you do about it? At number 9, we have a new coach, the Happy Valley Hariyamas. Number 9 with a 1-3 record, you guys are like, what are you doing? But, he was 0-3 before he took over, 1-0 as a new coach, and it was a dominating victory against a good opponent. I wasn't terribly fond of the trades he made to make his team, but he showed some fantastic use, and, it just kind of absolutely blew through what the Gotham Darkrai had. He fantastically baited out both some huge damage on Tangrowth with Poison Jab Garchomp, and he managed to take out the Zapdos with a +2 Continental Crush. After that, they just didn't have enough to stop all the fearsome physical sweepers that the Hariyamas have, and Garchomp managed to break open and actually clean up the team all by itself. It was quite something to see, and I expect this team, even with an 0-3 start, with this new coach, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him clawing his way into the race for the playoffs near the end. At number 10, we have AK's team. Like I said last week, I really don't know where to place this team. It seems to be all or nothing. He tried it again this week with Turn 1 Minior, and after that Minior kind of got dealt with, he just had no way to deal with the opposing team. So, kind of just staying roughly where he's always been. It seems like middle of the pack. Either he wins by a landslide or he kind of gets bled out as he loses his first option. Hopefully, as the season progresses, he can come up with some other ways to win outside of, setting up, because that's going to get real predictable for his opponents soon. and he has to come up with other ways to win. At number 11, the Seattle Celebi have risen a few spots. They clinched their first victory utilizing a fantastic Dragon Dance for Alligator set, and managed to sweep his opponent with that. I believe his opponent lost 4 or 5 to the Feraligatr before a Dragonite managed to tank a hit and clean it up, but it was far too late at that point. After the battle, he made a few trades. These are trades I really like. It's a little bit of a type change, but if you're happy with your team and you just kind of want to shake things up a little bit, this is a pretty good way to do it. Tyranitar for Blacephalon, Gengar for Hippowdon. You're keeping that sand core intact, except it's Hippowdon and Excadrill now. I prefer Hippowdon as a sand setter if you're going to be focusing on sand in draft at least. Not necessarily on ladder, but in draft. I think Tyranitar is a little too easy to prep for. Hippowdon is just a good support mon. It can't blow holes or sweep like a Tyranitar can, but it also doesn't have a somewhat crippling 4 times weakness to fighting to deal with. Shake up of the ghost types as well. Gengar turned into a Blacephalon. I love Blacephalon. I think it is a fantastic Pokemon. Even changed up his Z Captains to make it a Z Captain along with Venomoth as well. Blacephalon, it can do so many different things. All it takes is slap a scarf on it and bring it in on an opponent at a specific time, and all of a sudden you just won the game. Or if you run a Subcalm mindset with that Z Crystal and the right EVs to make it boost speed instead, and all of a sudden it's just won the game. It's so good, I think, and I'm really digging the trades that he made. Blacephalon Lopunny is going to be a terrifying combo to face, and that doesn't even bring into play, the Excadrill that is sitting in the back taking advantage of that sand. So I'm really happy with where the team is going. Clinched the win. Feels like he might be on the upward trend. I'm kind of hoping he is because that team is super cool. Number 12, we have the Auckland Articuno. Another tough loss, unfortunately, for Auckland. He missed a rule where it broke sleep clause. Thankfully, since I was asleep, I didn't see the match and they played it out, and it didn't matter in the end. So I'm glad that at least that went through. But even with that, he wasn't really able to break through his opponent's team. It looks like he expected Mawile to be running a super hyper offensive team because that's basically exactly what he drafted. But he got surprised by a little bit of a bulkier setup and wasn't able to take advantage and break through. The webs, I don't even remember. I think he brought webs. If he did, they didn't matter. The sleep didn't matter because things were living until they woke up. So just a little bit of a bamboozle by a somewhat unexpected prep caused him a little bit of consternation this week. At number 13, we have the K9 Tiger. Showed some fantastic Ditto usage against Miami this week. Ditto copied a Diggersby and blew up a lot of things. Ditto copied, I believe, the Mega Diancie and did some damage. And it was really it was doing everything it could to carry the rest of the team. But there were some misplays as well. He had Sceptile in against an Araquanid, and he went for what I'm pretty sure was a Hidden Power Fire, although I'm not 100% sure. But it only did, 11% to Araquanid when Araquanid had 14% health or something. I'm pretty sure any other attack he could have chosen would have been a better play because it survived and then lunged, and, Sceptile was down to almost death just from that. So, kind of threw away Mon without particularly any reason to. But those kind of misplays are somewhat easy to fix up if you look at your damage calcs and stuff like that. So they're easy mistakes to fix, and hopefully he'll make those fixes as the season goes on. Made a Z Captain trade as well, dropping that Z Crystal from Victory Bell, moving it over to Crobat. Thank God. Z Victory Bell, absolute trash. I'm so glad it's over. I hope he just trades it away at this point because it is just a waste of a tier 5 spot on his team. Z Crobat is a fantastic use of a Z Crystal. It actually hits pretty dang hard. Z Ravebird, or even some sort of odd Z Poison or something, and a Nasty Plot set could be an interesting way to use it. I love Crobat. It's very versatile. I love the Z Crystal on it. Thank God Victory Bell doesn't have access to it anymore because it was garbage. Number 14, we have the Beverly Hills Bibarel. Had what seems like a pretty good start in the match, Suicune against Nido King, but his opponent called that Suicune wasn't going to attack, was just going to set up a Calm Mind because, that's what Suicune does, especially against something like Nido King, which may not have Thunderbolt, may just switch out in general not to die, but he got red, Thunderbolted the Suicune, almost died. He had to pull it out for Latios, but that was on a sub. Latios ate a Shadow Ball, and all of a sudden he was super far behind. And at that point, all it took was that Trick Room Jellicent, which no one would have ever expected to kind of clean up the match at that point. So, he just got read pretty hard in those first couple teams with really good predictions, and there was just no coming back from it for him this week. Number 15, we have the Puget Sound Swamperts, dropping quite a bit more than just one average loss would suggest. Mostly, I just saw so many misplays this week. I think he probably panicked, but, at one point you just kind of have to hang your head and go, what are you doing? Uxie got frozen, brought in for Alligator, and set up a Dragon Dance. You say, oh darn, I'm frozen. He thawed immediately or after one turn, and he proceeded to hit Recycle a couple times in the next series that followed, which failed because for Alligator wasn't hitting him, it was just setting up. And I think he was trying to recycle like one of those 50% berries or something. He did miss the Toxic, which sucked, but if he, on the Recycle turns, if he'd hit Toxic any other time, he could have stopped that for Alligator from setting up and sweeping. And even then, if he just lost, if the exact same sequence had gone as it was, after Uxie fell to that for Alligator, if he just brought in the Dragonite right away and hit that extreme speed button twice like he did a few turns later, for Alligator would have gone down and they could have reset. He would have been like a mon behind, but at that point you can at least hope that you can pull out a victory. Instead, he sacrificed like 3 or 4 mons to this for Alligator before the Dragonite came out. Understandable that you panic, but you gotta weigh your options. You can't battle too fast or you're gonna make those kind of mistakes. So, gotta weigh your options before you do anything. That's the most important thing. That's why there are some people like me who, I battle somewhat quickly. I like to go with my gut, but there are times where you'll see me, I'll literally sit there for 5 minutes thinking it over because certain turns, or certain situations where you go, how do I not lose here? You got to go over all your options. That's the most important part. At number 16, we have the Patchum Patchum. Like the Sacramento Kingler, their match had to be rescheduled for this coming week. So they'll be playing hopefully soon. Really hoping I can see something good out of the Patchum. Hasn't been a lot to crow about so far, but you never know. Heck, the Happy Valley Hariyamas were 0-3 last week. Now they're 1-3, and they're looking really good. It doesn't take a lot to turn around. Get a win, get 2 wins, make a trade or something, and you can kind of start clawing your way back into the competition. So here we have our rankings. You can see we got a couple pretty big changes here. Specifically, of course, the Happy Valley Hariyamas. I didn't really know exactly where to rank them last week simply because new coach, new team with the free trades. But I loved what I saw in the battle. Some really good decisions were made. And I think they're going to be in the thick of it come the end of the season. Other than that, we have a few drops that are going to kind of show up as, you see a gigantic leap by that. But I'm thinking that these kind of rankings, I think they're starting to kind of solidify. You've got your top few teams, you got the bottom few teams. It's that middle spot that's getting kind of murky there. That's where the truly exciting stuff is going to be happening as you try and get to the end of the season, where the battles are going to become even more desperate because you have to win to make the playoffs. Those are the battles that I'm really looking forward to near the end of the season, and those are the teams in the middle there that I think are going to be in the thick of it. MVP track, Minior still on top. Even though it didn't manage to sweep this week, it got its kill for, the KO, it got a KO that for the death it suffered. So it's still on top, but that Mega Scissor is looking like it's climbing super fast with another 3 KOs gained this week. putting it up to +6. Won't take long for it to overtake it at the pace he's been going. And we have a surprise visitor, in my opinion, to the top 3. Mimikyu. I do not particularly see Mimikyu as one of those kind of MVP mons. I don't see it putting up big numbers. You know, it's the sweeper stopper. It's rarely the sweeper itself. But, you know, all it took was a reverse sweep last week and not anything bad for it this week, whereas all the things above it kind of did poorly. So it's managed to shadow sneak its way up into the top 3. I'll be curious to see if it manages to stay or if it gets knocked out quickly. It could go either way. I'm looking super forward to the battles this week. I cannot wait for a few of them, plus the remake battle. I'll make sure I make some comments on next week. We'll see how everything shakes out. But for now, this is the Fat Panda, and I'll see you guys next time.